Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Belonging, where today we are going to be continuing to read Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Book 4. I forgot what it was called then for a second. So, let's continue. And we may actually finish it today. Fingers crossed. They still sleep in my cave. Their dream still drinketh at my drunken songs. The audient ear for me, the obedient ear, is yet lacking in their limbs. This had Zarathustra spoken to his heart when the sun arose. Then looked he inquiringly aloft, for he heard above him the sharp call of his eagle. Well, he called he upwards, thus is it pleasing and proper to me. Mine animals are awake, for I am awake. Mine eagle is awake, and like me honoureth the sun. With eagle talons doth it grasp at the new light. Ye are my proper animals. I love you. But still do I lack my proper men. Thus spake Zarathustra. Then, however, it happened that all on a sudden he became aware that he was flocked around and fluttered around, as if by innumerable birds. The whizzing of so many wings, however, and the crowding around his head was so great that he shut his eyes. And verily there came down upon him as it were a cloud, like a cloud of arrows which poureth upon a new enemy. But behold, here it was a cloud of love, and showered upon a new friend. What happeneth unto me? Thought Zarathustra in his astonished heart, and slowly seated himself on the big stone which lay close to the exit from his cave. Oh, excuse me. But while he grasped about with his hands around him, above him and below him, and repelled the tender birds, behold, there then happened to him something still stranger. For he grasped thereby unawares into a mass of thick, warm, shaggy hair. At the same time, however, there sounded before him a roar, a long, soft lion roar. The sign cometh, said Zarathustra, and a change came over his heart. And in truth, when it turned clear before him, there lay a yellow, powerful animal at his feet, resting its head on his knee, unwilling to leave him out of love, and doing like a dog which again findeth its old master. The doves, however, were no less eager with their love than the lion, and whenever a dove whisked over its nose, the lion shook its head and wondered and laughed. When all this went on, Zarathustra spake only a word. My children are nigh, my children. That's more than a word. Then he became quite mute. His heart, however, was loosed, and from his eyes there dropped down tears and fell upon his hands, and he took no further notice of anything, but sat there motionless, without repelling the animals further. Then flew the doves to and fro, and perched on his shoulder, and caressed his white hair, and did not tire of their tenderness and joyousness. The strong lion, however, licked always the tears that fell on Zarathustra's hands, and roared and growled shyly. Thus did these animals do. All this went on for a long time, or a short time, for properly speaking there is no time on earth for such things. Meanwhile, however, the higher men had awakened in Zarathustra's cave, and marshalled themselves for a procession to go meet Zarathustra, and give him their morning greeting. For they had found when they awakened that he no longer tarried with them. When, however, they reached the door of the cave, and the noise of their steps had preceded them, the lion started violently. It turned away all at once from Zarathustra, and roaring wildly sprang towards the cave. The higher men, however, when they heard the lion roaring, cried all aloud as with one voice, fled back and vanished in an instant. Zarathustra himself, however, stunned and strange, rose from his seat, looked around him, stood there astonished, inquired of his heart, bethought himself, and remained alone. What did I hear? Said he at last, slowly. What happened unto me just now? But soon there came to him his recollection, and he took in at a glance all that had taken place between yesterday and today. Here is indeed the stone, said he, and stroked his beard. On it sat I yestermorn, and here came the soothsayer unto me, and here heard I first the cry which I heard just now, the great cry of distress. O ye higher men, your distress was it that the old soothsayer foretold to me yestermorn. Unto your distress did he want to seduce and tempt me. O Zarathustra, said he to me, I come to seduce thee to thy last sin. To my last sin, cried Zarathustra, and laughed angrily at his own words. What hath been reserved for me as my last sin? And once more Zarathustra became absorbed in himself, and sat down again on the big stone and meditated. Suddenly he sprang up. Fellow suffering with the higher men, he cried out, and his countenance changed into brass. Well, that hath had its time. My suffering and my fellow suffering, what matter about them? Do I then strive after happiness? I strive after my work. Well, the lion hath come. My children are nigh. Zarathustra hath grown ripe. Mine hour hath come. This is my morning. My day beginneth. Arise now, arise, thou great noontide. Thus spake Zarathustra, and left his cave, glowing and strong, like a morning sun coming out of gloomy mountains. End. A note from the shade. Reading this really makes me want to leave my own cave. I wonder if there is a way. A shade. I have a suspicion. I'm going to be quite honest. Thus Spoke Zarathustra makes no sense as a book. Or as a series of books or stories. It's just a load of nonsense. Oh, excuse me. The yawning has got me. Yeah, utter nonsense. There was no plot to it. It was a load of blah. The writing was really weird. I'm going to reverse time while we're doing this, since we have a little bit of time left. Yeah, essentially, what a waste of a book, in my opinion. I know there will be those that exalt it as a classic of the ages, but it's just a load of nonsense in my book, in my view, which is just my opinion, my uncultured opinion. And I accept that mine is probably not the agreed upon view, and others might have a better view of it, or understand it more, because to me it made absolutely no sense. Like, the wording, the writing, none of it really made any kind of sense. It just sort of happened. That makes any kind of sense in itself. It's not a book I would read again, or recommend reading. So, that's my review on it anyway. Yeah, we've read the first bit of the Iliad. We've read that one. I think we've read everything from the first 2 pages now of the... Yeah, we've definitely read Moby Dick. From the first 2 pages. Oh no, we've not read... Oh no, we have read Metamorphoses. I know we've not read this one actually. No, not Nibelungelid. Nibelungelid. However it's pronounced, we've not read that one. I don't think we're going to read it either. Maybe actually, depending. But it's a very long one again. We've not read the second part of the Iliad of Homer, the second set of books, rather. Morella. Yeah, we've got to decide what we're going to do next time, but that is for tomorrow. So I will say thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night, no matter what time of day it is. I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.